Yo, what's good, y'all? This is Hoop City 23, and this is going to be my first video. This is going to be a talk show, NBA. I'm going to be posting videos every 2 days a week, Thursday and Sunday, something like that. And I'm just going to be talking NBA, and this video is going to be about should the Heat traded for James Harden. Because we know the Heat was where he was originally rumored to go. He wanted to go to Brooklyn and Philadelphia and Miami, apparently. And, last night, my team, the Warriors, so I watched that game very in-depth. We won. We came back from 14 points, and I honestly feel like if they had Harden, that wouldn't have happened. And I'm just going to be talking about how I think the Miami Heat should have traded for James Harden. That's my opinion. So I'm going to be putting up a graphic on the screen about right now. It's going to be showing the trade package I've seen all over the internet of what the Heat would have had to trade and what the Rockets would have got. And as you can see, it's Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Precious Achiuwa, and a first-round pick. So, honestly, they should have done this. Here's why. I talked about this, and so this is going to be released on Thursday, and then Saturday, I'm going to have a YouTube video, 2K Experiments. It's going to come out on my other channel, Always Hooper 23. That's for gaming and stuff. I talked about in my video briefly about why I think, I should say, the Heat should have traded for James Harden. Reason one for the reasons why the Heat should have traded for James Harden. Last night we saw the Heat don't have a closer. Butler's a good closer, but he can't do everything. And we've seen that in previous years where players can't do everything. They just can't. It's a given. And last night, if the Heat had James Harden, they would have won that game. That's as simple as that, in my opinion. You can look at the stats. Curry, he shot like 25%, I think. He came up in the clutch, but we were down by about 14 with 6 minutes to go, I think. Come on. How do you give up a lead like that? It was to my favorite team, so I'm obviously happy they did it, but it's just James Harden would have allowed that to happen, in my opinion. He's been going crazy on the Nets. And so reason one is closer, and Bam isn't a good shooter, and he's a big, so bigs aren't like crazy clutch like guards or forwards. And Butler can't do everything, but Harden we've seen is clutch. Sadly, I was watching the game live, the Rockets game, where he hit that three over Clay and Draymond. That hurt me a lot, but it shows that he's definitely clutch, and he can show up in the big moment. Reason two for why the Heat should have traded for James Harden is spacing and shooting. So, as people know, NBA fans, Butler's not the greatest shooter. Jimmy Butler, I don't know why I'm referring to him by his last name. Jimmy Butler is not the greatest shooter. He's serviceable, he's good. Adebayo isn't the best. We thought Duncan Robinson was going to be the best in the league, but teams are figuring him out. And they could just use that extra piece. We've seen it. Harden's averaging about 15 assists per game, I think. That's crazy. That's so impressive. And I'm not a huge James Harden fan, but I am a NBA. I'm not an expert. I don't think so, but from right now, I'm talking game. I'm talking what the Heat should have done. I'm a GM. I'm pulling the trigger on the Harden trade. It's just, Pat Riley, he pulled off the Shaq trade. I don't get why he wouldn't do this one. So, going back to my point of playmaking, I mean, you don't have any prominent playmakers on the team. Just Butler's not a crazy playmaker. Adebayo's not a crazy playmaker. Hero's not a playmaker. I'm not talking like shots. I'm talking like passing. I mean, Hero's not a good passer. No one on that team is amazing except you could say Nunn's decent and Dragic. I like Dragic a lot. He's really good in my opinion. And if you would have James Harden, that'd be so crazy. Cause honestly, Tyler Hero's never gonna be what James Harden is passing wise. Duncan Robinson isn't. Kelly Olynyk isn't. Precious Achiuwa isn't. That first round pick isn't. And you just need someone out there who can facilitate and has the court vision. And I believe that Harden's doing that. Now, some may argue that Harden, he has Kyrie and KD and Joe Harris and all these good shooters. Because Joe Harris is an amazing shooter. But still, just in Houston, he was also leading the league in assists, or he was top 5, and that was when he had players. I mean, I think the core of the Heat, the remaining core, would be just as good as last year's Rocket team. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of ups and downs, but I honestly think that. That's my opinion. And right now, alright, it has been announced just now that Kyrie is going to play for tonight's TNT game. And, okay, so obviously that means James Harden is going to rack up some assists. We're going to get to see what he would do with the second star. I'm not comparing Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving, different play styles. But we're seeing what James Harden can do with the second star because Kevin Durant is not playing tonight. So we can see, kind of compare the two. I'm not comparing, like I said, I'm not comparing Kyrie and Jimmy Butler. It's just, you can see what James Harden would do with the second star. And plus, also the heat of Adebayo. You can't tell me a big three of Adebayo, Butler, and Harden wouldn't be nasty. I mean, come on. Alright, so I'm going to get to my next point now. My next point, I guess you would label it as abilities. So, look at James Harden's game. He is an amazing passer, like I've said. People are going to say no, but come on. He's a very good passer. He's a very good scorer. He's a very good shooter. He's not the best rebounder. He's not the best defender. I mean, he's trying, but he's not the best defender. But you know who is one of the best defenders in the league? Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, both some of the best defenders in the league. And like I said, Bam is not the best shooter. Butler is not the best shooter. But Harden's one of the best shooters in the league, which is important. Because what I'm saying is they offset each other, which is vital for a team. Look at the Sixers. They have Ben Simmons, amazing perimeter defender, terrible shooter, amazing passer. Look at Embiid. Not a good perimeter defender, very good shooter, not a good passer. Kind of like that. But I guess a better comparison would be Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert because they're winning crazy. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, I think he's a good passer, very good shooter. He's very good ISO. Rudy Gobert is none of those things. But also, Donovan Mitchell, he isn't an interior defender or a rebounder or someone who will make people not want to go in the paint. He's good on the perimeter. Rudy Gobert is not. Just look at the facts. And I know they have good supporting cast, but they don't got no Jimmy Butler. That would be like adding Chris Middleton to the Jazz. That'd be like adding Jimmy Butler to the Jazz, honestly, and making Mitchell a little bit better. So, just look at it. I think that's a winning basketball team. You have to think about it. I mean, people are saying Harden wouldn't fit the Heat's culture, but he's working hard in Brooklyn. It looks like that at least. And he's trying his best on defense. He's not a crazy good defender, but remember in 2017 when he would just tie his shoe in the middle of a game on defense or do any of that? So he's definitely becoming better, which is very important for the team. And just the fitting the Heat's culture, that confuses me. I didn't know what to say there. And I'm going to get to that in the next point. So I'm going to go to the next reason. When, like, 2012, 2013, Adebayo's like, Bosh, just not as good of a shooter, a little bit better perimeter defender. And if you added James Harden, it would be like adding LeBron. And remember, they had to get rid of a lot of players, I'm pretty sure. They had to get rid of Beasley and all those dudes just so they could get LeBron. So you obviously have to sacrifice. Look at the Warriors. They got rid of Andrew Bogut. They got rid of a ton of good role players so they could get KD. I mean, they had to cut them and trade them and stuff. But that was to sign KD, so it's basically the same if you think about it that way. And it's just, you have to just look at it. You need an extra player in the clutch who can provide like that. I compared the Heat teams, which I think is a good comparison, because Spoelstra doesn't have crazy clutch players now, so you need to have those extra players. You need, look, 2012, 2013, the Heat won, and it's obvious. I think they need to replicate that team in a way with having Harden's their LeBron. I'm not comparing them to LeBron. I'm actually, Wade Butler is a good comparison, and Adebayo and Bosh, I guess, but LeBron and Harden are comparable with talent right now, but they're not comparable with like game styles or anything. But look at that team, and I honestly, you know what? Here's my take. The Bucks or the Sixers are going to be their Spurs. Always playing them, always having to be clutch or something like that. And also, here it is for the Heat. They need to get a veteran shooter like Ray Allen, just to model the team after it. Just get a veteran shooter, cheap, old, near their career end, who can just put the ball in the bucket from deep. Just make threes all day. Because you need someone like that, because they're obviously going to guard LeBron. He's not the best shooter. Wade's not the best shooter. And Bosh was a good shooter, but not crazy good. So Allen was an amazing shooter, so you can get it to him. And look now, Harden is like Ray Allen. I'm not comparing their 3-point talent, but just look at it this way. In the clutch, you need a 3. You can't get it to Jimmy Butler because he's guarded or he's not the best at threes. Can't get it to Bam Adebayo because he's guarded by a taller big. Who do you get it to? Tyler Hero? We saw what he did last night. He can't come up in the clutch right now. And if he can, then he hasn't showed it properly, in my opinion. And Duncan Robinson. Honestly, if they could not trade Duncan Robinson, that'd be ideal. But I would trade him if you needed to. Just look at it. Come on. You need someone like that with the ice in their veins. So those are all my reasons. Thank you for watching this video. And later.